So Tim Hegg reminds us, Yeshua, however, sought just the opposite. He wanted new wineskins, right? We're looking at the parable through the lens of a different perspective. In other words, treating it like it's Yeshua replacing Judaism with Christianity, right? The old is out, the new is in. It's incompatible with my worldview, right? You want to approach God. You can't keep the commandments anymore. That's the old way of approaching God. You need to keep the God by faith, right? It's not by works religion anymore. It's not by keeping the commandments. It's not by obedience anymore. It's all about faith and loving your neighbor and loving God and being filled with Spirit and blah, blah, blah. And you can hear the kind of the sarcasm in my voice as I'm trying to imitate traditional Christian tropes on this idea, on this conversation. And it's because I'm so amazed at how easily we're ready to throw Judaism and the law of Moses and the Old Testament under the bus as Christians. All right, but Tim Hegg says, no, that's not really the best way to look at the passage either, right? That's incompatible with a reading of the Torah and the Tanakh. Rather, Yeshua wanted these new wineskins, as he says, unstretched by the traditions of the elders. Let me let that sink in, because I know this is a little new to many of you. You're like, what? I never thought about reading the passage that way. And in all fairness, Yeshua doesn't explain it this way. Just like he doesn't explain it the allegorical way that amounts to replacement theology. In all fairness, when you go back and read Matthew, Mark, and Luke, he doesn't explain it at all. So what we have to do is we have to ascertain what the master meant by his parables from his overall lifestyle and his overall message that is gleaned as we read the rest of the Gospels. That's what we do. And what we find is that the idea that Yeshua came to replace Judaism with Christianity is incompatible not only with the Tanakh, right, the promises laid out by the prophets that God would one day fill Israel with his Spirit and cause them to walk into his ways, right? So replacement theology is incompatible with the prophecies, but replacement theology is also incompatible with Yeshua's very own message that is interpreted as we look at the way the master interacted with people, as he taught, as he walked, as he healed people, as he challenged people with his message. It was radical, yes, but it was radical because of the transformative nature of the old man to the new man. That's the radical aspect, right? Wake up, sleep, oh, you sleeping followers of God. The King is here. You need to come out of your sin, repent. The King is here. You need to be born again. Things like that. Those types of radical aspects to his message are applicable, and that's accurate. But to plug in this whole replacement theology allegory, that's just wrong from the beginning. So what Tim's doing is he's supplying an interpretation that isn't supplied by Jesus, but it is consistent and compatible with the overall message of what we know historically to be true when we go back and do some historical research about what teachers would do during that day. So let's continue. Tim says, Jesus wanted new wineskins unstretched by the traditions of the elders. Or, he says, to put it another way, the manner in which Yeshua intended to fulfill the Torah, like he says in Matthew 5:17, is clearly not by abolishing it, but by unwrapping it from the stranglehold of traditions in which it had been encased, right? So we're talking about a better way to understand how Yeshua's parables might apply. So Yeshua didn't come to do away with the law. Rather, he came to set it free as if it needed to be liberated from the traditions of the rabbis and all of the man-made traditions that were choking the life out of it. Tim Hegg says, unwrapping it from the stranglehold of traditions that had been encased. Traditions, Tim Hegg says, that had effectively eclipsed mercy as the motivating factor in halachic decisions. So often Yeshua would challenge people, you've got a donkey that's in the ditch, and according to the law of Moses, you're supposed to set that donkey free, even if it's the Sabbath day. But by Yeshua's day, the preference for keeping the Sabbath had so trumped anything else that when you had someone who was afflicted on the Sabbath day, right? People who encountered Yeshua in the synagogues and were sick, and Yeshua was healing them on the Sabbath, he would then have to remind them that, look, even God, our Father, commanded us to set that donkey free on a Sabbath day. How more important are people than donkeys, right? Shouldn't we liberate them, set them free from the ailments? I mean,